Excuse me, how much you bench?
About 250.
One thing that someone brought up the other day at the gym that was actually really interesting is so I've been doing Shaco for a really long time, and maybe they've been watching me make a lot of progress, so they think that if they also run Shaco, they're gonna also make a lot of progress, which isn't necessarily the case, but like that's really cool if you want to like think that and like get inspired by watching someone else progress, and you want to maybe try out a new training cycle. So that guy that I'm talking about, he went home and he downloaded the Shaco app, and then he immediately wanted to try out the CMSC Prep 2, which may not mean anything to anybody, but exactly what it means is it's the highest volume Shaco, and it's recommended for the most advanced athlete. And his reasoning behind it was like, of course, doing more is always going to be better, right? And to be honest, actually, I would completely disagree with this, even though like intuitively you might think like, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to go hard, and that's going to be what's going to produce results. But what actually is happening, and I try to explain this to him if you take a step back, is your body just reacts to stimulus. It has no idea what's happening, and say you never worked out before in your life, it's never really been put into a stimulating circumstance, such as like putting it through like a bicep curl, putting weight on the bicep. So putting literally any stimulus on the bicep is going to be better than putting no stimulus on the bicep. So if you were to see an IFBB pro who's got enormous biceps, they're going to be probably doing like 3 sets of 10 or 4 sets of 12, and they're doing all these different angles and different exercises because they've got such a mature muscle, and they've got such like so much time spent in the gym that it's necessary to continue putting new stressors on the muscle to continue to push it to adapt. But someone who's never actually put any stress or stimulus on their body, they're not actually going to need very much to produce that initial stimulus. So what I was suggesting to him is you want to do as little work as possible and make as much gains from that little work before you start doing more. Because say for example, you were to start doing something that's like just a classic like 3x8, you know, just a simple bro split, like a 3x8 for squats, and you start making gains like a 5-pound gain every week, that's awesome, you know. And then maybe you start getting a little bit into it more and you're like, I could download the CMSC Shaco Prep, and then I could be doing like 4 sets of 2 and 8 sets of 6 and this and this and this and pause squats and chain squats and different sorts of front squats. But the thing is you don't actually need that to produce the stimulus, and doing that too soon is going to cause your body to adapt to that intense stimulus. So say you're doing all these different crazy things, or we'll just go with a simpler example, high volume. Say you were to start with 3x8, and then you do 5 pounds per week, 5 pounds per week, and you know what? We're going to crank it up all of a sudden. We're going to start doing 4x10. And where you can go from there, you know, you're going to do a 4x12 or a 4x15, maybe you're going to do a 5x10, 6x10, 7x10, and kind of what I'm getting at is eventually you're going to max out what you can do, and like say you're doing a 10x10, it's almost impossible to progress in those last like 7th, 8th, 9th set because you're so burnt out just from doing more cardiovascular work and lactic acid buildup in the muscles rather than actually like muscular fatigue and endurance training in terms of like heavy weight stimulating your central nervous system and trying to get stronger, which is what this whole talk is really trying to be a rant about. So I recommended for him to go forward doing the intro level Shaco program because he's able to progress with volume. So maybe for a while, maybe the 6 months, 8 months, he'll make a lot of gains on this program. You know, if he finds he's not making as like consistent progress anymore, that's perfectly fine. He can move into a little bit more of an advanced program, a little bit more higher volume, or a little bit more, I'm going to say, like less specificity or maybe more specificity in terms of his actual compound lifts if he finds one works better than the other. But that's something that doesn't really need to be thought about at the beginning, which is where he sort of is right now, at least in his strength journey. Anyways, I was just going off the top of my head there. Hopefully that makes sense to a couple of people. And really what I'm getting at is if you want to be efficient, the best way to be efficient is to do the least amount possible and get the most out of it. So instead of going into the gym and having a Rocky mentality and doing a 10x10, maybe kind of try to evaluate the situation and understand what you actually need, and to continue doing more than you did last time in terms of maybe weight, volume, form, something, rather than just going all out and assuming that more is always better than less. Anyways, take it easy, guys.